Yo, fancy community, welcome to Proper Tings, the FPL Show, brought to you by the TT FPL Pro League, episode 19. Well, again, we're on a quick turnaround, and this will be a shortened version of the normal version of the episodes you all know and love, because currently the games for this game week have not even finished being played. Still have the Thursday fixtures, Newcastle, Everton, and West Ham versus Spurs later on today. So without further ado, let's kick things off with the abridged review of Game Week 15. Well, so far on the Tuesday, we saw Wolves sneak past Burnley 1-0, Wang with the goal there, and Arsenal get the late minute winner from Declan Rice to beat Luton 4-3. Brighton finally got right 2-1 versus Brentford. Bournemouth eased past the Eagles of Crystal Palace 2-0. Fulham dominated Forest 5-0. Liverpool snuck past Sheffield 2-0. A big Salah blank on that one for many of his captainers, including me. City fell to Aston Villa 1-0. I did predict that going into the game. And in the big marquee matchup, United squeaked past Chelsea 2-1. So that was the current review of Game Week 15. And now with the abridged review completed, we move into the preview for Game Week 16, or the goat mouth segment. You know, I probably put the markers on my boys Man City last game week, saying Aston Villa would win 2-1, but right now we're not in a good spot. So this week's predictions, we start off with the early kickoff, Liverpool versus Crystal Palace. Liverpool 2-0 in that one. I have Brighton winning 2-1 over Burnley. United defeating Bournemouth 2-1. Brentford without Mbuino maybe 2-0 versus Sheffield. Wolves defeating Forest 2-1. Aston Villa defeating Arsenal as well at home 2-1. Chelsea and Everton play out a 1-1 draw. Fulham go down to West Ham United 2-1. City defeat Luton at Luton 2-0, and Newcastle get the best of Spurs 2-1. So that was the quick goat mouth predictions for Game Week 16. And now with the previews, or the goat mouth segment signed and delivered, we move into the proper thing segment. I know it's a quick turnaround. Some of the guys from last game week have not even played yet, but you know we have to get the video out on time for you all. So this is the segment where we give you all the picks that should be in your fantasy team now and going forward, as they are the centerpieces to FPL with the proper things picks. Needle movers for the aggressive players that need to rise their rank immediately. Spilt milk means that they have spent their time in your team and need to be moved on, as they have become funky, and wandering picks are the guys you should keep a keen eye on to possibly move for in the upcoming game week. So we kick things off hot and sweaty with the proper things picks. Again, the guys that should be in your team now and going forward, as they are the centerpieces to FPL. Last game week, well, Trippier has not played yet. Salah unfortunately blanked versus Sheffield United, and Watkins didn't return versus City. But I know those guys running it back this game week for most of you. This week, we have some new faces in the proper thing segment. In defense, I have one of my favorites, Pedro Porro, coming at 5.3 million. I know that they have not played this game week versus West Ham, and they have a tough game versus Newcastle. But I think this is the time to jump onto Porro, as clean sheets on the whole in the Premier League has been at a premium. So you're more looking at defenders who could give you those attacking returns, and maybe you get the bonus of a clean sheet right now. And Pedro Porro is as attacking as they come. Tough game versus Newcastle, well, in Game Week 16, but moving forward, I love Spurs' schedule, and I love the attacking prowess of one Pedro Porro. So get the boy in now before it's too late. So Pedro Porro is your proper things defender pick for Game Week 16. In midfield, I have a dynamic duo according to how much funds you have. First up is the guy who scored the winner versus Burnley, and Wang from Wolves, coming in at 5.7. I mean, Wang has proven now to be a guy who just keeps the points ticking over regardless of the fixture. He's picked up right where Neto left off. He's even gotten points when Neto was there, and I think that he's in a good space right now, returning at a good click he has the fixtures, and he's also seems to be on penalties. So get Wang in at 5.7, especially if you have worries about the fitness and availability of Mbueno. That could be a great swap there. So Mbueno to Wang. The next guy in midfield that I also have in the proper things picks for this game week is Raheem the Dream Sterling, and he comes in at 7 million currently. We know Chelsea had a slew of tough fixtures. Sterling returned in some, didn't return in some, but now the schedule turns absolutely fantastic going into the holiday season. Sterling is as locked in as they come in the Chelsea outfit. He's also one of their prime attackers, and at a price at 7 million, he may be one of those guys that is the perfect replacement for Mbueno as well if he's out injured versus Sheffield. Mbueno currently is at 7.1, so I switched to Sterling at 7 mil. Shouldn't be too hard. And I love the fixtures again for Chelsea going forward, and Sterling is as locked in as they come, especially with the bench rotation during the Christmas season, with the games coming thick and fast. And now in attack, he's back as your proper things forward pick after a blank versus Villa. It's Erling Haaland at 14 mil. Away to Luton has proven not to be the layup fixture that many of us thought it would be, as Luton gives teams a good game, as they would say. They gave Arsenal a thriller this last game week. Arsenal squeaking past 4-3. But Erling Haaland is a guy that can score in any game week, and I really love him versus Luton and going forward. I know the shelf life on his availability is on the clock right now because Man City, of course, travel to the Club World Cup very soon. But if you have Erling Haaland, he should be right in line for your captaincy ban. And if you don't have Erling, I think that you need to get him in immediately and just bite the bullet and, as they say, hold the rope in tug of war for the next few weeks. So get Erling Haaland in for this Luton fixture. He's the best captaincy option, as well as I think the majority will be flocking here as their captain. And at 14 mil, his price hasn't risen or dropped since the beginning of the game. So he's still buying at the store price, as they would say. So Erling Haaland, 14 mil is your proper things forward pick for game week 16. Now we move into my favorite segment, which is the needle movers segment, as I'm an aggressive player, and this is for the aggressive players who are looking to rise rank immediately, and these players could give you that immediate boost in points. Last game week, we almost went 3 for 3, but Gakpo dropped the beans with 2 points. We had Trent, who returned a dirty dozen, and Martinelli with 7 points. In this game week in defense, if it's nice, do it twice. Rolling with Trent again, now not at 7.9 mil, but 8 million. He is a needle mover simply because of his price. If you don't have Trent in your team currently, most likely it's going to take multiple moves to get him in. And that's something that most managers do not like to do, especially if they only have one free transfer, as it requires a -4. Again, Trent with a beautiful assist again off the corner for Van Dijk. Some will say it wasn't a goal for the push, but 12 points nonetheless. And of course, he returned heavily, 13 points the game before. Again, he plays in the early kickoff versus Crystal Palace this game week. I expect Liverpool to get one of those rare clean sheets this week. And Trent is as attacking as they come. He's also on the set pieces, free kicks, and of course, corners. So, love Trent again this week. If it's nice, do it twice. And he's a needle mover simply because of his price. Perfect differential for those who have him and those who have the funds to get him in. I think he could be in for a big haul this beginning of this festive season. In midfield, I have 2 midfielders for you all from the same team, but it depends on what kind of player you are. Of course, with the news of, we all saw Mbueno go down. We don't know his availability this game week, and if it was one game we wanted him to play, it would be the Sheffield United game, but it doesn't look too good at the time of recording. So, 2 needle movers, they both from the same team as I said. They're from my team, and the first one is Phil Foden coming in at 7.5 million. Before Villa, Phil Foden was in a little purple patch. He was returning goals at a very nice clip. Didn't really show out versus Villa, but the whole City team looked poor. I think that the game against Luton is an opportunity to get right. I don't think it will be a high-scoring game, but I do think Phil Foden will be at the epitome or the center of everything that goes good for City. I think this is a great week to take a punt before he goes off to the Club World Cup. And this is not a long-term pick, but I think it's a great matchup for Manchester City on the whole. And Phil Foden is your needle mover midfielder pick. But he also brings in an English friend of his to accompany him in the needle movers pick. Foden is right now the more locked-in pick, but this guy could be more explosive and could be someone that most people don't have. I'm speaking about Samurai Jack or Jack Grealish, currently coming in at 7.2 mil. We all know that Doku was not in the squad this last game versus Aston Villa with a slight injury. Jack was suspended. I think he'll be back in the starting lineup versus Luton. And when Jack plays, Haaland returns, as they have a nice combination going on there. I really like Haaland as my captain this week, and I expect Jack to start this game week and Luton. It's not as easy as we first thought, but I believe Jack will return. Personally, I am looking at one of these guys to bring in for Mbeumo if the news is as bad as we think and he misses the game versus Sheffield, as he as well will be blanking in the upcoming game week when Manchester City go to play the Club World Cup. So, your needle mover midfielder picks. Foden if you want the more locked-in starter, or Jack Grealish if you want to go a little more cheeky with the cheeky ball. And finally, in the attack, or your forward needle mover pick for game week 16 is one Visa coming at 5.9 million from Brentford. Again, big injury with Mbeumo. We don't know if he'll play, and of course Brentford plays Sheffield United this game week. If you're looking for a quick fix or a quick hitter, I think Visa could be a guy, especially if Mbeumo is not available. Visa will most likely move to be one of the main penalty candidates. Again, they also play Sheffield United, who's proven to be the worst team in the Premier League. They did hold Liverpool to only a 2-0 win for the Liverpoolians, but I expect Brentford to score in this game, and if Mbeumo is not there, Visa will be at the heart of everything. So the Visa needle mover pick also depends on the availability of Mbeumo. So we're monitoring that going forward, and Visa is your needle mover forward pick for game week 16. Now with needle movers concluded, we're moving into the spilt milk segment. Of course, this is where I highlight players that should be leaving your team now, as they have become funky and net negatives. It smells bad on these assets right now. Last week I recommended Cash, Matoma and Jackson be moved on. Cash again did not play versus Manchester City, 0 points, and Aston Villa held out a clean sheet, so it's not looking good for Cash going forward. Matoma got an assist in the Brighton win, so 5 points there for those who held them, and Jackson with the 2 points. This game week I have a guy, and this is a team that was heavily bought in about 2 or 3 weeks ago in Crystal Palace. I write in Mark Gehi coming in at 4.7 million. Crystal Palace assets have not paid dividends for anyone who's bought them in. I know I have a few friends who play fantasy with me very seriously who bought in a Crystal Palace asset, not Gehi, and he's very upset with the asset. But if you have Gehi, you need to move him on immediately. Crystal Palace fixtures turn very bad and very difficult very soon. In Gehi, I do not see him having much upside going forward. So spilt milk time, unfortunately for Gehi. It smells bad at 4.7 million. In midfield, right now, well, there's only one real candidate, but this one needs a little monitoring. Of course, spoke about him in the needle mover segment for the wrong reasons. I'm talking about Bryan Mbeumo coming in at 7.1 million currently. Prime fixture for Brentford versus Sheffield United, but he did come off early with the injury. The news is that he rolled the ankle, and his availability is in doubt for this game week. If he does miss the Sheffield United game, I do expect him to miss it currently. At the time of recording, I would absolutely sell Bryan Mbeumo because he blanks in game week 18. So you'd only get one game week in the next 3. I think that you're holding him for one game is not really a great decision, and you would have to move him on. Of course, if you're looking for that injection again, could off points immediately. You could go Grealish, Foden, maybe Hwang, Sterling. You know, there's a plethora of options. So unfortunately, due to injury, Bryan Mbeumo lands on your spilt milk midfielder list this game week. And finally, an attack for those who are playing the cheeky ball with Chris Wood coming in at 4.9 million. We saw Forest got absolutely demolished by Fulham, and it doesn't look great for Forest going forward. I don't like Wood going forward, and those who bought him in there thinking they could probably snipe a streak, assist or a goal, I don't think it will work out for you. I think you could move that 4.9 to maybe a Semenyo or probably upgrade Wood, as I do not like this asset at all going forward. So Chris Wood lands on your spilt milk forward pick for game week 16. And finally, now we move into the wondering pick segment. And this is where I give players that you should keep a keen eye on this game week to possibly move forward in the upcoming game weeks. Last game week I had Ben White, who I wanted to see if he would regain his spot. He did. He did concede 3 goals, but he did provide the assist for 4 points. Lo Celso is yet to play at the time of recording, so we're looking to see what he does versus West Ham. And no Nkunku sighting. So again, it looks like he'll miss this upcoming game week, so we're still keeping our eyes out to see when Christoph actually makes his Chelsea debut. In this game week, we are bringing back an asset that has, one of the most polarizing defenders in the entire game. I think people remember what he has done in the past, the far past now it looks like, and how explosive he can be, and still holding hope he could return to that form. Talking about Reece James, of course, coming in at 5.4 million. Of course, he did not start versus Manchester United, came off the bench. Chelsea's schedule again looks very, very promising going forward. I did recommend Sterling above. And if you're looking to move on maybe from one of your Arsenal assets, if you have the double, as you do play Villa and then Liverpool is on the horizon, maybe Reece James is a guy you keep an eye out on this game week to see if he starts and you possibly bring him ahead of game week 17. 5.4 mil, he is a asset that would require you to actually move one of your more premium defenders. So keeping a keen eye on Reece to see how he goes this game week. In midfield, I have a guy who absolutely put the work in versus the generational talent that is Jaska Guardiola. At 7.0, I'm talking about Kulusevski from Spurs. Already know that there are a lot of Son owners and most of you don't want to move to Son, or there's Lo Celso. So again, coming in at 4.8 mil, and Kulu at 7 is a bit of a stretch, but he's looked impressive going forward. And the fixtures for Spurs after Newcastle I do love. I will be keeping a keen eye on Kulusevski to see how he goes against West Ham. He's not a guy to bring in this week or possibly next week, but you got to keep your eyes on to see the great things that Kulusevski's been doing. So Kulusevski lands in your wondering midfielder pick for this game week. And finally, in attack, remember, wondering picks is not only about guys who you're bringing in, but we're keeping a keen eye on Alvarez this game week. Of course, Manchester City have a blank close on the horizon. They do play Luton this game week. Alvarez has looked a little jaded and poor in recent games. There's calls for the boy from the Manchester City faithful to get benched. We don't know if it happens this game week, but I don't think he'll move Alvarez ahead of the Luton fixture, because that is a game you do expect us to win. But we would keep a keen eye out to see how he plays and how he goes versus Luton, and possibly move him out or hold or keep in the upcoming game week. So a key game here for Alvarez to see if he is actually a great asset for your fantasy teams going forward. So keen eye on Alvarez again. And that concludes the wondering picks segment and the proper things segment for game week 16. And now we're moving into one of the newer segments on the show. It's called Captaincy Corner. For all those who have that little dilemma on who to put the armband on this game week, hopefully I could help you all with that little issue. Last game week, most of us, like myself, flocked to Salah. It was a tough game to watch as Salah blanked, unfortunately. On the whole, all the premium assets and captaincy favorites on the whole in the game blanking. In Holland and Watkins, in Darwin with only 3 points. So if you went with like a Trent so far, or Virgil van Dijk, ecstatic. We do have Son still to play later on today, so we'll see how he goes, as well as Trippier. And this game week, the number one captaincy option for myself is one Erling Haaland. You know, Haaland has been returning surprisingly at a human rate this season. City will be looking for a response. Pep will set up the boys for a response this game week, and I expect Haaland to deliver as always. So he's my captaincy favorite for this game week, nothing too cheeky. In second place, I don't really like the Gandhi games at the 8:30 kickoff, but with the 200 goals still hovering over this guy, maybe this would be the game he gets it. Of course, if Sadio Mane was still in Liverpoolian red, I would have him, as that this Crystal Palace fixture was a game that he absolutely used to love. I think it was 9 or 10 straight in which he scored, but no Sadio Mane this time around or last season. So Salah comes in at 2. In the number 3 position, for those looking for a little cheeky ball or a little differential, I do have Raheem the Dream Sterling. I do like Chelsea versus Everton. I do expect a response again in this game, and Raheem Sterling could be the guy at the heart of things. In fourth, again, it's a little cheeky ball candidate here in my boy Philip Foden. Again, this is a needle mover pick from earlier, a great punt. I do think that he will be at the center full of everything great happening for Manchester City. And to close out the top 5, it's Trent, Alexander, Boot Cheeks Arnold. For those who are seeing the memes online currently, 25 points in the last 2 game weeks. This guy closes out the top 5. This is probably one of the most explosive assets in the game right now. But again, the Gandhi game puts him at 5. So Trent rounds out your captaincy corner this game week. Again, Erling Haaland will be the guy I will be going to. And finally, this episode, this is where I normally give the segment with the most banter. I'm talking about the race for the 10K. But at the time of recording, we still have 2 games to play today, with Newcastle taking on Everton and Spurs West Ham. So we don't have the latest updates. But I do promise next game week, when all the games conclude, we give in a more in-depth look into the table and see who really make the moves for these quick turnarounds. So next episode, we'll see how the table looking in this festive season for the race for the 10K. But now we move into one of the newer segments as well in my planned transfers, to take a look at what I am planning to do this game week. Look, there is a big now red arrow in the middle of my team with Mbeumo now on known return date. This was a game week I was expecting to roll and just keep one hard decision on the bench, but as our fantasy does like to play at all, it's like to keep you on your toes. So this game week now, I'm definitely keeping my ears close to hear how Mbeumo is looking or shaping up for the Sheffield United game. But if he isn't going to make it, and it does not look like he will, I will be moving him on. My number 1 transfer right now is Jack Grealish. Simply because I already know my captain will be Erling Haaland. So Phil Foden is the more safer floor, but I think Jack Grealish is the more explosive of the 2. The problem with that is I'm not sure if Jack Grealish is going to start at the time of recording, so we'll be keeping a close eye on that. Of course, we know Doku has a little injury concern right now, and Pep will be making a little fine-tunes to the team versus Luton as he's looking for a response. So I'll definitely be looking to hear if Jack Grealish will be getting the start closer to the deadline. At the current time of recording, the plan is to get Jack Grealish in for Bryan Mbeumo. And the plan B, if Jack Grealish is not playing, is to bring in his, English counterpart in Phil Foden, who has the safer floor, the same team, of course. This is the more safer transfer, as Phil Foden is more locked in. Again, I do think City will respond versus Luton, and those are my 2 plans, plan A and plan B for my plan transfer this game week. Well, ladies and gents, now that brings us to the end of another episode of Proper Things. Hope you're enjoying the episodes. I know it's a quick turnaround. And while you're watching, don't forget to go down in the comment section and leave a comment, whether it's nice, not so nice, if you agree with the picks, if you have better alternatives. And while you're down there, to leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel. Appreciate all the support. Again, I hope everyone keeping good during the festive season. And don't forget to do proper things in all walks of life. I'll see you all next week.